Hello to everyone. This is Bernadette Winters-Bell, your host of the podcast From Heartache to Healing and Hope. And we are doing our monthly fireside chat. Although I don't have a fire going, I have nice lights and sunshine for you today. And I have a guest today in an interesting topic. So I'm thinking about that it is National Social Work Month and it is National Child Life Month. And how better to honor both of them than this special guest. And it's a field that I became really educated about. And so I'm going to welcome Raye Pietruszka. Did I get that right, Raye, the pronunciation of your name?
Pietruszka, yes, pretty close.
Okay, well, there we go. Well, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Bernadette.
Wonderful. So, since you know yourself better than me, and you know how to pronounce your name certainly better than me, please be so kind as to introduce yourself to my audience.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Raye Pietruszka, and I am a certified child life specialist. As Bernadette mentioned, child life is the profession that we are celebrating this month, along with Social Work Month. So, you want me to go into more detail?
Do tell, what is a child life specialist, please?
So a child life specialist really is working with children and families to help to minimize stress and prevent trauma associated with healthcare experiences or life challenges, really. We work directly with our colleagues in the field of mental health and within the field of medicine to help create plans of care for children to support them through those processes. So, yeah.
You know, the more people involved with helping children to navigate this, and therefore, of course, helping the parents or the other caretakers or caregivers, reduces the stress so very much.
Yes.
I've got a new podcast launching next week about music therapy in oncology departments. And so this is another way to look at this season that I'm doing, which is From Heartache to the Art of Healing, and different ways to help people to do that. So this is a field that started in the medical venue area?
So yes, it did. Predominantly, child life specialists were found in hospital settings, and in hospital settings were populations with children, obviously. So you would see this predominantly in bigger cities, a while ago, and now you'll see it kind of branching out into more rural areas as well. So, and mostly within like the United States, Canada. And then it's within, 26 countries across the globe really now. But many people still have not heard of it and are not aware of the services and what that means. But we are very well integrated within the hospital systems.
Well, that's wonderful
those
to hear.
That we're in.
Right. That's wonderful to hear. So if someone is listening now and they have a niece, a nephew, a child, or just want to work in the school systems and want to become more educated about this. At the end, we're going to give information about your website and all of that. And so a child life specialist is really, it's sounding to me like a real advocate for the child and making sure that the child's concerns are addressed, I was interested when you were speaking about that in hospital settings, you can not only show the children the actual equipment that's going to be used, say if they were going to have surgery, but you can go into the OR with them to make sure that the process is as simple, smooth as possible for them. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I worked at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That was actually the first position that I held as a certified child life specialist. And I was pretty much tasked with the job of developing services within the surgery OR department and with our procedures area. Child life specialists were in the hospital in St. Jude prior, but surgery was a new area to have a child life specialist. So my job really was to help prepare children and families for that experience, and really on the child's level of understanding, what does that mean? So helping them gather the materials. We go through the senses, what they're going to hear, taste, smell throughout the whole process from beginning to end. The room that they are first in the waiting room, then they move into the prep area, then they move back and go through the anesthesia in the actual OR, and then back into recovery. So it's going through that whole step and helping that child really break it down and simplify it and make it seem not so scary.
That's pretty, in St. Jude, I mean, they're premier as far as the research and taking care of children who are ill. You know, in the work that I've done at hospices and in private practice, what I've learned, adults do this, but children are especially good at it. So they take these pieces of information, this is how I visualize it, information, and it goes inside into the head. And then there's this salad spinner item in their head that twists it around, and what comes out of here is something about like what we told them or other information they've gotten, but also how they imagine it in whatever developmental stage they're at and whatever other experiences they've had. And I always find that so fascinating. And the point here is that although the child may know the words that you're using to describe things, they may not have the same definition as you. Oh, yes, we're going to go and get an operation and do this. Okay, yes, I understand. But do they understand that they'll be rolled in on a stretcher or a gurney, and they'll be flat, and they'll see ceilings and lights and things like that? When you show them the actual room, they can get a better sense of it, not just words that somebody's telling. And that's really important.
Right. So we'll come with a medical play kit for the children to use, and maybe even a prep book. So some ORs allow what is called a pre-surgery tour program. And that is something that I helped to develop at St. Jude. But it's something where families can register for, and they bunny up and get dressed up, and we take them back to the OR, go through the different rooms, help them really explore before their actual surgery. So a day, 2 days, 3 days before their surgery, so that they can actually see the room. So it's not so scary in that moment.
Absolutely. Even as adults, we talk about, oh, I've never been to this place before, so I think I'll take a drive-by first to make sure I know how to get there, what turns to make, where to park. So even as adults, when we have something we've never done before, we want to feel a little more in control. And so maybe we'll have a test run or things like that. Right, exactly. Right.
Those tours are like test runs.
Right. And children have less control over things than we do as adults, so I could see where that would be. And so wow, I can see so many different ways. This is great.
And so part of our play and our preparation is building in that control that you mentioned. So we want to allow them that opportunity to feel in control of their own experience, but also feel confident in their ability to get through it. So we'll give them lots of choices based on their throughout the whole session, maybe 2 at a time, but yes. Choices throughout so that they feel like they have that control over their own experience.
How terrific. So it's started in this, the medical field, which you could see would be so important. And has it grown from there, morphed out in other?
Oh, yeah. For sure. Yeah. So for example, like myself going into private practices, maybe about 10 years ago, child life specialists started kind of branching out into developing their own private practices and really working within the community more. So historically, as I said, we were in hospital settings, but there's a huge need to have support within the community prior to going into the hospital or after leaving the hospital, or just it's not associated with the hospital, but it's an everyday kind of like, let's learn about medical play, or let's learn about what it is to go to a dentist on a day that I don't have to go to the dentist. But, it's just when you're able to play with a child where there's no impending schedule, I am not going to the dentist on this day, it breaks down that fear for them. So they don't have that fear component working against you. You can get a lot more done with helping a child cope for a future experience and exposing.
Absolutely. And of course, when you're helping the children, you're helping the adults that are there with them. Right.
And so dentist offices utilize our services. You might have pediatricians utilizing our services, hospice utilizing the child life services. You might have a child life specialist working in school settings, actually, or maybe contracting services through the schools. You could see a child life specialist working in early kind of Head Start programming or disaster relief programs, all sorts of variety of areas. You might find a child life specialist where there is the need really to try to reduce stress and prevent any further trauma.
Reduce stress and prevent trauma. Could that be helpful? Like, right, when you say it, it's like a no-brainer, right? Absolutely. So I see it growing, and in other places in my mind, I can see this, because, for instance, in the school system, there's so many children who have special needs and have special programs to go to, and you could see where it would be, and they only have limited amount of staff to do these things, right? So if you had somebody helping a child that specifically needed to negotiate those places, right. How helpful that would be.
For the school specifically, you might have a child that has diabetes. So really my work would be to help educate that child also on the forefront of what that means. Some children, when they're newly diagnosed, don't fully understand what that word means, diabetes. Right. So we would get some play materials out. In play sessions, I would, bring different devices or things to help a child understand what that is. And then maybe the child family wants me to come into the school system to help their peers understand, hey, why does so-and-so have to have a snack right now when, and
I don't get a snack, but she gets a snack.
Right. When we're getting ready to go play, why does so-and-so have to go to the nurse's office so often? All these questions kids have, and they know what's happening. They know something is different, maybe. So our job really within the school systems is to help try to normalize this experience for the child who does have the illness, or for children who are observing their peer go through that.
And what a wonderful way to not make it the other. They get a snack and I don't. They get to go out of the classroom and I don't. I got to sit here, do math or whatever it is they don't want to do. And so instead of being jealous or angry about that situation, when you give all the information, now you can raise a more compassionate, kind child, all of them, because they have more information. Because otherwise, whatever we don't give them, they just make up. They take, again, pieces of information, spin it, and that's what comes out, How terrific. Wow.
Yeah. A big piece of our work is to clarify misconceptions and to help children understand them.
How wonderful. Wow. This is terrific. And I could see it at any time in the world, but now, so I'm calling the time we're living in now pre-post pandemic, because I'm not quite sure where we are.
Exactly.
and I don't want to say post pandemic and then next week we hear about an outbreak. So it's pre-post. But as we're in that, I was thinking about all the children. I mean, everyone went through the pandemic differently and struggled, whether they lost their job or their job exploded with business. And the children that went through it and did Zoom-like ways to attend school for years, and then, especially if they were younger, and then went into the school setting, and socially it's too much because they didn't have, say, first and second grade mostly in class, and other different ways that everyone's having to renegotiate their lives, what a wonderful way to be able to go into the schools to help them all of them, the guidance counselor, the teacher, the school lunch lady, everybody, to acclimate to what we're all living through now.
Correct. Yeah. So helping children navigate that kind of normal.
Right. That's a good word. Normal, question mark, question mark, question mark. Right.
Yeah.
Because what it is it's today's world, and tomorrow might be different. And that's one way to look at it. But that's scary also. Like, wait a minute, what do I get to depend upon? Where's my foundation? I mean, I don't suppose there's going to be a child. Well, maybe one child will say that. But in essence, I think when we're going through things like this, that the foundation is like a very mild earthquake. It's not on the Richter scale. Just, you don't even know that it's moving underneath your feet, but you don't feel quite safe, quite grounded. Mm-hmm. And so everything becomes a little like, I'm not sure, And so you could see that in hospitals or the playground or school, any place, right? That you don't have that quite firmness, and that the adults around you aren't on quite firm up either, So, right.
Yes. And can be very unsettling, not knowing, not having something to fully grasp of what is this, or what do I expect.
Right.
A huge part. It's really helping children and families navigate the unpredictability in certain situations, and the adaptability for children and families to really consider plan Bs, plan Cs, plan Ds, that they're out there, and those can be the foundation, for things too.
Oh, absolutely. Because if all right, we got plan A, all right, plan B, there are options.
Exactly.
And if this works, my father used to say this all the time, if it works, we don't have a problem. Now, if it doesn't work, we got two choices, and he'd keep going down the line till you stop worrying about whatever you were initially worried about. But the point being is that there are choices and options and ways to deal with things.
Yes.
Maybe some adults could use this too,
You say that, but it's funny because when you talk about the locations in which Child Life started and now are branching out into, many people have given us that feedback throughout our work. And even myself personally I worked at an adult hospital but that had specialized children's services. My primary role was within medical imaging. So within that experience, I had many, many parents come to me and tell me that, they really could utilize the services for their upcoming MRI. So Child Life specialists, they're kind of considering, actually in some hospitals, there are Child Life specialists that have broken their title down to life specialist, but they work with adults, not just children. Work with adults for their purpose, for what is happening for them, what is the stress, how to help prepare for certain things for them. We work with children of adult patients. So that's a
yes.
Parents who are who had a trauma. Maybe they went into the ICU. Maybe they have oncology, or they are in the oncology unit. So we would work with children of adult patients. But what you're talking about is more, I need that service too, as for me. And yes, we are working more towards helping adult populations as well.
I love it. When I went from my hospice work and started a private practice, I called it life, loss, and grief. Because to me, what doesn't that include? I wanted it more expanded from the focus here that was at a hospice. And that's exactly what you and I are talking about, is that when you find a service that's so helpful to navigate all these different venues, and then let's see who else, where else, let's keep pulling this out, right, of all the different places. Well, we've just exploded it. I think Mars will be calling soon, is going to need your specialist. So when the people start going up there to live, I think this is absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad we had this opportunity. First of all, I'm educated now about it. So, and I always think I should learn one new thing a day. So I'm good for today. So thank you for that. And I love that I could share this with my audience and let them know about, doing hard work together, say the two fields that we're talking about, and specifically about yours. I just love it. So I see we have a lot of beautiful pictures here. So why don't you give us the information about how people could become more educated and get in touch with you?
Sure. So if people are interested in child life services, they can always email at info@copingconnection.com. If they're interested about the profession, the information is on the website. You can click kind of on there, but it would bring you to our child life organization, the body that certifies us, called ACLP, the Association of Child Life Professionals. And that helps you learn a little bit more about child life specialists in general in the profession. So yeah, right now, as a one-person community-based program here, I am slowly starting out with more individual work with patients and families. So I would be visiting the homes of patients and families or within the community, and helping them go through these medical, healthcare, dental, life challenge experiences. And the goal is really to help in group settings, because that is where I think a huge coping process happens, where you really can benefit from knowing you're not alone. So that is my target, is to provide those services for group sessions for patients and families.
As we get ready to allow my audience to go and look this up and end this chat, what would you say is the most interesting or surprising thing you learned over the years from doing this work, Raye?
I don't know that it's interesting or necessarily surprising. I guess it's a little bit surprising in some aspects, that many times we're not really sure of how to prepare children. Oftentimes we just don't.
Right.
So
because we don't want to scare them or upset them or make them sad or worried. Exactly.
And so oftentimes we're afraid of their reaction. So we may give information that we think is the best. We might not give any information, or we might give false information. So I guess that kind of still surprises me, because in order to help a child cope, we really need the foundations of trust. So I think, I think that's a big piece of what surprises me, and the resiliency that children have when they're given that information, when it is broken down on their level.
Exactly.
Say, I can handle this information, Mom.
Because now I know what I'm dealing with. I used to say to families and parents is, imagine, an old wagon, a red, and in it, you're putting building blocks of information so they can have that for their whole life. It's at their developmental level, whether we were talking about a relative that was ill or they were ill, hospice work, and what was going to happen. Well, I don't want to scare them.
Exactly.
How is it that you as an adult feel when something happens and you had no idea it was going to happen, such as a sudden death, right? This is going to be sad and this is going to be big, but it doesn't have to be gobsmacking you. Right. And exactly. If the adults were as resilient as the children, it'd all be great. Right? Well,
Right.
thank you.
That's a huge part of it, is helping the parents feel confident with sharing that information to
Yes,
with the child, giving the parent those tools.
exactly.
This is how I would prepare a child. And, for your next visit, I'm not going to be there maybe as a child.
Right, exactly.
This is how you can do this. So giving them the skills so that they can do that in the future as well.
Now that I'm saying it out loud, I think I've gone from a red wagon. I'm going to update my thing. Maybe it's a backpack, because you can carry more digital things, and it doesn't have to be quite like that. And they can, give them a backpack full of coping tools and knowledge,
Literally, we do sometimes.
Right. Exactly what I'm thinking. Wow. This could be a product. Wait a minute. Let's talk. I love it. I love it. Terrific. Raye, thank you so, so very much for being a very special guest, and that we together could honor National Social Work Month and Child Life Month. Oh, how wonderful.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you. And may many people be in touch and can use your beautiful services. That you're knowledgeable, you're compassionate, you're a kind woman, and you can be helpful. What a great combination. So thank you so very much.
Thank you.
And this was a fireside chat from heartache to healing and hope. And I'm Bernadette Winters Bell saying thank you so much for joining us, and let me know what you think. Have a good day.